In Western musical notation, the staff, or stave, is a set of 5 horizontal lines and 4 spaces that each represent a different musical pitch, or, in the case of a percussion staff, different percussion instruments. Appropriate music symbols, depending on the intended effect, are placed on the staff according to the corresponding pitch or function. Musical notes are placed by pitch, percussion notes are placed by instrument, and rests and other symbols are placed by convention. The absolute pitch of each line of the non-percussive staff is indicated by the placement of a clef symbol at the appropriate vertical position on the left-hand side of the staff. For example, the treble clef, also known as the G clef, is placed on the second line, fixing that line as the pitch first G above middle C. The lines and spaces are numbered from bottom to top. The bottom line is the first line and the top line is the fifth line. The musical staff is analogous to a mathematical graph of pitch with respect to time. Pitches of notes are given by the vertical position on the staff, and notes are played from left to right. Unlike a graph, however, the number of semitones represented by a vertical step from a line to an adjacent space depends on the key, and the exact timing of the beginning of each note is not directly proportional to its horizontal position. Rather, exact timing is encoded by the musical symbol chosen for each note in addition to the tempo. A time signature to the right of the clef indicates the relationship between timing counts and note symbols, while bar lines group notes on the staff into measures. Usage and etymology. Staff is more common in American English, stave in British English. The plural is staves in either case. Stave is, in fact, a back formation from staves. Staff positions. The vertical position of the note head on the staff indicates which note to play. Higher-pitched notes are marked higher on the staff. The note head can be placed with the center of its note head intersecting a line, or in between the lines touching the lines above and below. Notes outside the range of the staff are placed on or between ledger lines, the width of the note they need to hold, added above or below the staff. Exactly which staff positions represent which notes is determined by a clef placed at the beginning of the staff. The clef identifies a particular line as a specific note, and all other notes are determined relative to that line. For example, the treble clef puts the G above middle C on the second line. The interval between adjacent staff positions is one step in the diatonic scale. Once fixed by a clef, the notes represented by the positions on the staff can be modified by the key signature, or by accidentals on individual notes. A clefless staff may be used to represent a set of percussion sounds. Each line typically represents a different instrument. Ensemble staves. A single vertical line drawn to the left of multiple staves creates a system, indicating that the music on all the staves is to be played simultaneously. A bracket is an additional vertical line joining staves, to show groupings of instruments that function as a unit, such as the string section of an orchestra. A brace is used to join multiple staves that represent a single instrument, such as a piano, organ, harp, or marimba. Sometimes a second bracket is used to show instruments grouped in pairs, such as the first and second oboes, or the first and second violins in an orchestra. In some cases, a brace is used for this purpose instead of a bracket. When more than one system appears on a single page, often 2 parallel diagonal strokes are placed on the left side of the score to separate them. 4-part SATB vocal settings, especially in hymnals, use a divisi notation on a 2-staff system with soprano and alto voices sharing the upper staff, and tenor and bass voices on the lower staff. Confusingly, the German system and Italian system are referred to a single staff. Accolade and coloratura designate systems in the English sense. Grand staff. When music on 2 staves is joined by a brace or is intended to be played at once by a single performer, a great stave, a grand staff, is created. Typically, the upper staff uses a treble clef and the lower staff has a bass clef. In this instance, middle C is centered between the two staves, and it can be written on the first ledger line below the upper staff or the first ledger line above the lower staff. Very rarely, a centered line with a small alto clef is written, and usually used to indicate that B, C, or D notes on the line can be played with either hand. When playing the piano or harp, the upper staff is normally played with the right hand and the lower staff with the left hand. In music intended for the organ, a grand staff comprises 3 staves, 1 for each hand on the manuals and 1 for the feet on the pedal board. History. Early Western medieval notation was written with neumes, which did not specify exact pitches but only the shape of the melodies, i.e., indicating when the musical line went up or down. Presumably these were intended as mnemonics for melodies which had been taught by rote. During the 9th through 11th centuries, a number of systems were developed to specify pitch more precisely, including diastematic neumes whose height on the page corresponded with their absolute pitch level. Digraphic notation, using letter names similar to modern note names in conjunction with the neumes, made a brief appearance in a few manuscripts, but a number of manuscripts used one or more horizontal lines to indicate particular pitches. The treatise Musica Ingeriades uses Dacian notation for indicating specific pitches, but the modern use of staff lines is attributed to Guido di Arezzo, whose 4-line staff is still used in Gregorian chant publications today. 5-line staves appeared in Italy in the 13th century, and staves with 4, 5, and 6 lines were used as late as 1600.